Star Search is the 6th episode of the 3rd season of Full House. This is directed by Bill Foster, and there will be spoilers from now as I discuss what happens in this episode. We have a very tiny subplot with Michelle. It starts off with DJ, Steph, and Kimmy presenting Michelle with a tutu and a tiara that apparently belonged to DJ, and she passed it down to Steph, and then Steph has now passed it down to Michelle, and Michelle does a little dance, and it's absolutely adorable. And at some point she wants to sleep in the tutu, and they try and say no, but Danny says yes. That's pretty much the extent of that part of the episode, but I rather enjoyed it. It was very cute. We will come back to Michelle very briefly a little later on. The rest of the episode is all about Joey, because Danny finds an old tape from when he hosted his college talk show. And in this tape, he brings on Joey as his guest. And in the tape, Joey kind of gave himself a 10-year deadline to be where he wanted to be with his career. I think this is so common. I think so many people give themselves, me included, certain, maybe not deadlines, but goals, whether that's a 5-year plan or a 10-year plan. And Joey realizes that he hasn't made it to where he wants to be within that 10 years. And those 10 years are nearly up. And he spends quite a bit of time making a lot of cartoony noises and trying to do a lot of comedy, as much comedy as he can pack into about 2 or 3 minutes. And Danny decides, without Joey's knowledge, to send in an audition tape to Star Search. Now, I had never heard of Star Search. It was a TV show where basically there is a contestant, and as far as I can tell, the reigning champion is on every episode. Then somebody comes on and tries to be better at their talent than them. And then if they're better than them, they get to stay on the episode. And I think progress further in the competition. I'm not 100% sure. That's the impression I got from this episode. But either way, I really enjoyed it. And Joey got to do a set on Star Search. It wasn't the funniest thing I've ever heard, but we did get some great impressions. He did a wonderful Popeye, of course, which I think was a really great decision. And before I discuss the reveal with that, we do get a delightful moment with Steph and Michelle, where they're performing for somebody who works for the show. And Michelle does a little ballerina dance because she's still wearing the tutu. And then Steph starts to sing Tomorrow from Annie. And it's really delightful. It's very brief, but I rather enjoyed it. And then we have the announcement of the winner. And this is, unfortunately, not Joey. And understandably, Joey is crushed because he wanted to win. And he figured that if he won this, that would be his answer to being where he wanted to be within 10 years. And he's devastated. But Jesse actually gives him some really good advice. He says, and I quote, "Personal happiness and bringing joy to others sounds like success to me." And he's trying to get Joey to realize here that while he might not have ticked all of the boxes he wanted to tick, he is ultimately enjoying what he is doing. He is still enjoying being on stage, and he loves making other people happy. And if he's doing those things that he enjoys, then surely that is a measure of success. And I think that this is something many of us, myself included, can really benefit from being forced to think about. There are a lot of us who measure our success by numbers. For example, if we're not hitting certain numbers in anything that we do, how have we succeeded, regardless of how we feel. Even if we enjoy the journey, if we're not at the destination, we're not successful, which of course is not necessarily always going to be the case, but it is hard to retrain the brain to think of success as being something that's maybe not even measurable. Joey can't measure personal happiness. He can't measure how much joy he brings to other people. He can measure, for example, how many bookings he gets or how much money he has in his bank account. And they're very easy measures of success. And the episode is forcing us to actually evaluate the fact that success might not always be measurable. And honestly, that makes me stressed, because how do I know how successful I am if I can't measure it? But this is what Joey is facing with. Joey is facing the same dilemma, and I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that. So I think it's a really important episode in that regard. If anybody is in the same situation where you're not where you want to be, maybe you're nowhere near you where you want to be, maybe you're not sure where you want to be, or maybe other people are telling you you should be somewhere to be successful, maybe listen to Jesse. Maybe evaluate your success from a different angle. It's difficult, but as we can see here, it is doable. So I found it to be a very moving episode with some Really, really great messages. And then we get the delightful bit at the end where Joey is kind of giving himself a talk at the microphone, and then Michelle comes in laughing. And it's a beautiful moment and a really lovely way to end what I consider to be a really solid episode. Star Search is definitely one that I really thoroughly enjoy.